Pregame.com.
Welcome back to Pregame.tv. I'm your host, Marco D'Angelo. I'm joined in studio today with Ken Thomson from SportsX Radio here in Las Vegas, 720 on the AM dial. Ken, glad to have you in studio. Elite Eight. We're taping on Friday, guys, so it's the Elite Eight, but we still got 12 teams because the Friday night games are being played as we're taping. So we're going to talk about the 4 teams left that are going to play on Saturday, 2 games, and we're going to kick it off with Syracuse and Marquette. And I got to tell you, Syracuse looked pretty impressive last night against Indiana. Or could we say Indiana really was just a paper line and this team wasn't as good as we thought? But right now, public perception on the Orange is as high as it could be.
No doubt. Now, Marco, we talked about it off camera, how Indiana just never made adjustments. And give it to Syracuse. That zone, when you don't know what you're going up against, you can try to simulate it in practice, but until you go up against the real thing, you have no clue. What I'm surprised about is that Tom Crean never made halftime adjustments. That's kind of scary when you're a team that's been fighting to be number one, and in a lot of the public's eyes, they have been the number one team all year. A lot of people thought they should have still been the number one overall seed. Boy, were they exposed last night with their difficulty to penetrate a zone.
Absolutely. And I got to admit, they baffled me. I didn't think Syracuse would handle them the way they did last night. But right now, as handicappers, we look for value all the time. You hear the term, value, and you got to think that Syracuse right now, the stock is as high as it possibly could be with them. And this Marquette team is a team that everybody keeps saying they're lucky. They're lucky. Going into last night's game against Miami, everybody said they should have lost the first 2 games. But you know what? Here's a team that didn't play their best basketball, and they still found a way to advance, whether it was lucky or not. And last night, they played a great game, but everybody's going to be quick to point out, Miami was without, their center. And you said right before we come on air, this is a guy that's not a big factor in their offense. He's been a backup. You gave a nice stat on his last 6 games. What was it?
Last 6 games, he only averaged 1.9 points per game. He did have 5 rebounds per game, and a lot of people thought the big bulk of Reggie Johnson, they may have missed him there. But you're right, Marquette makes their own luck. The Davidson game is the one we look back on. It was the opening game. Davidson had the lead throughout the second half. Marquette was just 1 of 12 behind the arc up until the final minute when they nailed their last 3. They needed every one of those, and then Brooks with the errant pass. But they came down, and Vanderbilt found a way to finish the deal, just like he did in the conference tournament a week earlier against St. John's.
They did. Well, you know what? This is my free pick, so let's make it official. All right, guys, we're going to look at Marquette. When the tournament started, right before the first game against Davidson, I was doing first preview show with Scott Spreitzer, and I told Scott, if Marquette gets past Davidson, I thought that was a bad matchup for Marquette. I said, if they find a way to get past Davidson, this team's going to go far in the tournament. And, well, they are so far. Here they are. They're in the Elite Eight, and they're going to play a Syracuse team on Saturday. The big problem Indiana had last night, they were not ready for that zone defense. Jim Boeheim's 2-3 zone frustrates a lot of teams. But you know what? Marquette has seen this zone so many times in Big East play. In fact, they've played 6 times since 2009. They're 3-3. They've split the 6 games. None of the games were decided by more than 7 points. I'm going to go with Marquette. This is, I think, a mistake in the line. I think public perception has Vegas setting this line too high on Syracuse because of the blowout win last night. I'm going to take Marquette. I think they're a live dog. This one's going to go to the wire again, but I got Marquette winning the game by 1. That's my free pick in this one. And we're going to be back, Ken and I. We're going to break down next Wichita State and Ohio State. 2 surprise teams, well, 1 surprise team and 1 team that keeps getting by. We'll talk about that one next here on Pregame.tv.